Hello guys and welcome to TFT World Day 2, game number 6. Enjoy.
And Wet Jungler, those are the three players who can most affect their fortunes by coming first in this game.
I'm still questioning that choice. If you need a first place and you're playing Earth and you're not picking Bandle Cafeteria, that just feels very odd here. We go with a pretty safe one. Finds a Jace.
Oh, it's Foeman though, so not something that he...
Yeah, not someone look for a big swing here. But, you know, it's a relatively safe portal. Everyone's going to get that support item at some point in the game. You know, we get a good look here. Again, Ornn, Twisted Fate, and a bunch of Earths. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Yep. I think it also could go the other way as well, because if you know that all the opponents you're contending with are playing things like Earth, you also might not want them to potentially benefit because you know that they might spike to the point where you can't beat them. Versus Valar's Hollow, it feels like more reasonable in the sense that, yeah, there could be some really big, insane combinations, but maybe there's always a chance for you to scale higher instead of having them assemble the perfect pieces.
Well, I mean, the thing that jumps out for me most is seeing Huey here, of course, who had that disaster of a previous game, going for Ornn in this lobby. When we know he needs a first place, it doesn't scream to me of having that great potential.
Yeah, I totally agree. Ornn is a very good tempo if you get the right artifact. You can play that really well, something like Collector or, you know, Hullbreaker or anything like that. But, like you said, it doesn't have that same cap that an Ornn board does here. So, I don't know. Other than comfort, this does feel like not the right legend to have in this situation.
Okay, well, we'll see. Ornn for Huey one more time. He needs to summon what he had at the beginning of the day. And what will it be on the 2-1 augments? It's going to be a gold.
Yeah, looking at a gold here, that's going to put a lot of people in their comfort zone. This is the thing they've practiced most. We get a look at these Ornn artifacts, and Huey, for example, here, Eternal Winter and Mogul's Mail, not necessarily what he's looking for. The one thing I would have called out is that Mogul's Mail with a 5-item start means you can actually get that second item on the tank, and you could start generating that gold, but instead decides to go with Eternal Winter. And now we're getting a look at Mikhail's board here and has the Ionia emblem. This, again, feels like a pretty decent start here. But otherwise, yeah, we're going to start to get a look at some of the emblems around the board. We see a Vanquisher, Shurima, Kurimex with the Demacia, and then one other Demacia player. So we do see some contesting on the Demacia side of things. But right now, the players that need a first, that Ionia emblem looking real good.
Oh, no, but Wet Jungler has a Vanquisher emblem. And these are two players at 52, so they're going to be taking each other's units. Now, there's plenty to go around. In fact, you can even have deviating strategies. Vanquisher could be focusing on Karma. Ionia could be focusing on Ashe, and then, you know, no harm, no foul. But at the same time, you never know how these games pan out.
No, it's going to be very important, as we do see on Foeman's side of things, picking up the Gold Monster stuff. This is something I would have loved to have actually seen coming for Huey, you know, to get something which could potentially snowball like crazy.
Yeah, and the fact that he put it on the Jhin, I think, was definitely correct. That snipe can get that kill, allowing you to get those gold procs and allowing you to snowball from there. We talk about drip economy and how you can't get that from traits anymore, but getting it from your augment, that can snowball into a lot of economy in the late game.
Yep, that's right. And for Kurum, I mean, he's playing for, I guess, the highest placement he possibly can at this point. See if he can get it. But he has that Demacia contesting with Toma, almost kind of like a bone to pick from the previous game, because Toma was also the person that kicked him out with that Neela 3.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get what you can get. At least Kurimex is in a position to play something pretty comfortable. We know long term, of course, we're going to be seeing those extra support items coming to help push the power across the board.
Yeah, and so, again, pretty strong start here. Have that Gargoyle Stone Plate, which has been nerfed a bit, so it's not quite as strong as it was before, but it is still good in the early game. And yeah, I feel like Kurimex right now, knowing that he can't make it to day 3, this is get a top 4, get a, you know, maybe 3rd if you're lucky, and then be happy with like your 9th or your 10th. That's going to be a little bit of extra share of that prize pool. And nothing to be ashamed of, you know, getting that place in the tournament, you know, nothing too bad there.
And he's one of the first people, I was actually looking and chatting with him between games. He said that he just puts the blame on himself. He's like, look, it's not like the patch, it's not anything. I had 12 games. I could have proved it. And he just said that he had a couple of bad reads on a couple of comps, which cost him placements, which puts him out of contention for competing. And it's just as simple as that. The small margins of a placement here, a placement there is what puts you in or out of that top 8.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got to take its toll for our players, knowing exactly where they are right now. It's been such a long journey for all of them just to get here at all to play in the Global Championship here at Runeterra Reforged. The last game, the absolute point of everything they've been doing up until this stage, there can be no mistakes.
On the other hand, this is kind of a victory lap for Hong Lian. Again, he's known primarily in China as being the most popular streamer. If you're from North America or you follow him, it's kind of like the K3 Soju of China, except he's been to 3 worlds instead of 1, so it's got a little bit of a lead on Soju.
You got the shot in. You got the shot in.
Oh, it's not a shot at all. It's more just a praise to Hong Lian because everyone knows that it's very difficult to juggle both. It's hard to be at the top of that content creation and at the top of competitive, but he's had an amazing 2023.
Yeah, also worth calling out here, again, we know it's an Earth meta. We've seen, you know, hundreds of Earths at this point, but he's taken Twisted Fate, and he's been playing that really well, and you've talked about it a couple times that Twisted Fate has this high skill cap, and so to come in here and already be locked in with that Twisted Fate kind of shows that he's very familiar with that line, knows that play, and is showing that there are other options out there.
You have fewer things you can go for. Multicasters is not really the out you can even lean into. And so, what do you want to play with Twisted Fate? I feel like most people are going to be a little bit lost. I mean, I think Hong Lian defaults a lot to the Bilgewater Nila, which is what he's maybe leaning towards. But even then, that comp is not easy to pull off. If you think it easy, go ahead and try and see how it goes.
I do think this is, you know, as I said, Hong Lian's comfort zone, so if he's going to be able to pull it off, he can. It's, of course, worth noting we've got the 3 players who need to get first places in this lobby. Hong Lian does not need to do that, but he may have it in mind to just take the first place for himself anyway.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, he'll definitely keep playing as best as he can, trying to practice. I like the Even Shroud lock in here. Like you said, that very clearly says, I'm playing the Bilgewater line, I've got the RFC. That Even Shroud is going to lower the armor of all the nearby people, allowing those cannonballs to hit even harder. So pretty very clear signaling what he's playing. And I like this because, again, it's not that S-tier comp. It's the comp that a lot of people have been sleeping on and using that to kind of coast into this, you know, top 8.
In the meantime, Michael has hit the last Whisper. That is the key piece. And that build indicates like it's Ashe to me. We'll see if he ends up committing to Ashe or perhaps going for the Xayah Nila 4 cost instead. Kurimex must be wondering where was this all day. Having a Demacia, easy 5 streak, and cruising. And you know who also 5 streak with Demacia? Man, Demacia is so good at 2 people 5 streaked with it on stage 2.
No, it's even great.
My
it's
God.
even great being played from the bench. That's the way to give all of your items to Demacia. I didn't know if you know that.
Yeah, fair enough. Now here comes the question. Is this like a good spot for Demacia? It's 0 Demacia units. It becomes increasingly more difficult as you level to find them.
I am not a fan of this at all. Again, we've seen that for Demacia to really succeed. Do we have a coin flip here?
No, we don't.
Okay, we don't.
Going his moment.
Woo, that was close. But I think Demacia, when we've seen it succeed, it's somebody being, you know, above 80 health as we head into stage 4. So they've got that time to get to possibly that 9 to find the Mordekaiser and stuff like that. Every time we've seen Demacia be low on health, that's when we see them bottom out, right? Kurimex had the 2 emblems and went 7th with it because he couldn't keep that health high enough. So I'm just not a big fan of the lost streak Demacia.
All right, well, we'll see if Toma can prove us wrong, because I agree with Mort. I think that is a weaker way to play Demacia by a big margin, and the likelihood of Toma able to pull himself out is unlikely. Now, that being said, heavily depends on whether or not he's able to natural some of these Demacias get online and whether or not he's able to hit that Mordekaiser. He seems to be all in on the idea of playing for Mordekaiser, and if he can hit that 2-star, maybe it's enough to anchor him.
Yeah, it's going to have to be pretty big turnaround. Of course, bear in mind, Isotoma on 36 points, which is the lowest amount of points in this lobby. He could significantly push himself up in the prize stakes if he can get a win here against some very heavy hitters.
And how hilarious would it be if Toma goes in with 28 and gets 16 points in the last 2 games, which is like 60% of his point total. It would be quite a story to wrap up his championship.
Yeah, it would definitely be a way to end it, get some extra prize pool, but not only that, but play spoiler to our 352 players, right? Because again, those 52 players need that first place. Anyone else here is just trying to really stop them from making it to day 3.
It's such a fascinating spot to be in here, because again, you know, you've got the players towards the bottom who obviously want to try and get the first places themselves, and they've got very little to lose in this game. So you know they're going to be going all out, and if the odds go in their favor, they can end up overtaking you just because they don't have so much to lose.
Yeah, totally agree here. Kurimex leveling up to keep the streak going, has that 5 Demacia, wasn't able to find the Quinn 2. That would have been really nice to lock in the streak. Does get a relatively easy matchup, though, here. Should be able to win this fight pretty handily here, and that's going to allow him to keep that gold streak going here. And so, again, this is the position that Demacia feels really good on, right? Can we get a gold or a prismatic augment that's going to give us that one more +1 Demacia? And if so, that's going to be trouble for our 352 players.
All right, let's see it. 3-2. with a gold augment on 2-1. What's going to happen for the second one of this game? And it's going to be another gold. Taking a look at our 52 players, Huey in the top middle. Does he want to go for that Ornn? Michael rolls in the top right and gets another Ionia emblem. So 9 Ionias on the table for Michael, which is huge. The other 52 player, Wet Jungler, takes Healing Orbs, which is a solid, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, nothing too crazy here. Like you said, Mikkel getting the Ionia emblem being really good. Kermex did not get something like Dedication or anything like that. Huey right now still trying to make his last decision here. Could go the Ancient Archives. Decides to go with Healing Orbs as well. So 2 of our 52 players went with Healing Orbs as just a nice safe pick, solid right now. And again, it's a good augment, but it just doesn't feel like that first place augment they need.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Now that being said, Michael has hit 2 stars across the board. He is rolling down, though, to get it. He stopped at 11 goals, so he needs to streak the rest of the stage. If he's able to do so, he's in a good spot. You see why he rolled, because he wanted to go for 6 Ionia on level 6. Was not able to hit it, but can he take down Kermex? This would be a huge win if so.
Yeah, Kermex is bringing in the Edge of Night for a little bit more survivability for the Fiora. Doesn't seem to serve us super well. HP turns a little off.
No.
Michael at least does keep hold of the lost streak, but doesn't manage to upset the apple cart. Kermex remains undefeated.
And Kurum looks like he rolled again, by the way. He's down to 10 gold. He was at 20 at 3-1. Still on Quinn 1, but that is a slight dagger there into the back of Maiko.
Yeah, the fact that everyone's so low on economy, I don't think we're going to see any of these big spikes here as we head into our support item here. Zeke's Herald, a pretty solid choice here. Going to give that backline the extra attack speed. Seems pretty solid. We'll have to see what other support items are out there. But Kermex getting a relatively safe choice here to give that Quinn just some extra attack speed.
Also has that early Fiora. I was kind of thinking about whether or not there's even a merit for Obsidian Cleaver as well, so you get that shred. But given that Glove's already slammed, and I think Glove's a little bit awkward for that comp, go ahead and just get that last whisper going. Meanwhile, let's take a look at Nem's point of view and see that he has an early Mordekaiser, which is going to provide a huge problem to people that need that unit for other comps.
Yeah, being equipped with the Shreem emblem, as you mentioned many times, Dan. An excellent hold of all emblems, big and small. On the other side, I see Toma running the Demacia line. Again, Mort, you said you were not a big fan of this approach. At least there is a board here now to speak of, and it actually might be enough of a board to get Icy Toma started back off to the races.
Yeah, if anything, this is trouble for Nem, who leveled to 7 and already rolled down quite a bit. And so to lose on 3-3 after leveling to 7 is a little rough here. And again, we've seen the tempo be really high in these last few games. I imagine 3-5, anyone who's got any gold left, which isn't a ton of players, is probably going to roll down here, level to 7, and we're going to see some big spots here. And I kind of expect Kermex especially, like, he might be out of gas now because he spent all that gold.
Yeah, and he can't continue to spend that gold because he needs to roll on 7, so we shall see. Kind of depends a little bit on his matchmaking pool as well. There are a couple of people who aren't rolling or a little bit on the weak side. There are some players who also are going to potentially be leveling and rolling on 7 as well. And that's going to be Toma, Honglian, Foeman, and Wet Jungler.
Yeah, so there's those level 7s, everyone leveling up here, and we're just watching those gold totals, see if they roll down here. Ace Toma right now with only 10 gold here, so not a ton to work with. Looking around, though, we'll have to see if everyone else can go. Wet Jungler, by the way, also on a 5-round win streak. So if we get the Kermex versus Wet Jungler fight, that's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious how Wet Jungler's roll down went. Uh-oh. Okay, Toma almost TP'd. He has too many items. It's Salvage Bin. He is dizzy, but thankfully he's going to make it work. We've got Rage Blade Archangels.
I have to laugh at Hongleon. Has the RFC, he's got the Pandoras, and 3 Reforgers.
Well, you want to double down on the whole Choose-Share and items. I mean, certainly items are pretty good for Honglian right now.
Pandora's at home. Yes, we've got 3 Reforgers.
You know, if you really need a component now, you've got 4 tries, I suppose.
Yeah, just do a little bit of tactical reforging before it's all said and done. We are heading across to Wet Jungler. Remember, Huey, Michael, and Wet Jungler are 3 main players we're keeping an eye on here because they are the ones with the biggest chance of making it through to tomorrow with a first place.
Yeah, the fact that he lost his streak there, he was on that 5-win streak, did end up losing, though, unfortunately. Kermex keeping the win streak here, and again, we keep talking about these 52-point players. One of them needs to come out really strong, and right now, Kerm is starting to run away with it, right? If you're at 100 health at this point, things are usually pretty good, so we really need someone to just find a really cap version, and right now, nothing's screaming at, like, look at this amazing cap board.
That's an early Cassante to complement your Shurima board, and I think most people have come to agree that Cassante won by himself in a vacuum. Not that impressive, but in 6 Shurima, he can actually do some work.
Yeah, I do like it with the healing orbs as well, because you see getting the knock off the board and doing a lot of trouble. Well, of course, the Mordekaiser takes the center stage. It's a nice backup to make sure that Nem will be able to get the win here.
Oh!
There you go. Deletes your problems no matter what they are.
Yeah, I agree with you that stage 3, he can do a lot of work because there's not that much damage he can survive.
Yeah, stage 3.
You know, and so, but as the damage gets ramping up, it can be a lot harder unless you've got things like that Protector's Vow, the blue buff, stuff like that to get him to cast very quickly.
What I do like about him, what he can do in stage 4 and beyond, is sometimes displace really important tanks. I think people get a little lazy with, say, like a Sejuani with a Stoneplate Gargoyle. If they're not paying attention to, even just the fact that he kicks her out of place might be enough, even if he's not able to get the execution.
No, absolutely. And I mean, it's going to add an extra layer onto these players who've got so much on their mind already. You know, what a heartbreaker it would be to lose an all-important streak or round just because you didn't account for that Cassante.
Yeah, totally agree. Right now, really looking for this Neela. We're playing around the Azir right now as an item holder, but if you can't find the Neela, this board doesn't really make a lot of sense. This is very, you know, forcing the Neela, trying to play around the 5 Bilgewater, the Strategist. Out of gold right now, though, and so for now, we're just going to have to pray we can hit that. Kermek's hitting a 2-star Kaisa as well to keep that streak going. You know, so there we go. Yeah, 10-win streak. Everyone basically rolled down all their gold except Mikhail right now, who is still level 6. Right.
Oh, and that Zephyr snipe as well. That is nasty. You don't expect the Jarvan to go backline because you always expect him in the front.
Yeah, this is a Valar's Horror, which means that you do have to keep that in mind. Another thing that players don't normally have to account for at all. With the Ashe out of the mix, it means this round's not even a little bit close.
And it's the small things like that that add up over time, which, you know, only is pressuring the rest of the lobby. Speaking of pressure, Nem probably going to die pretty soon at this current pace. We're going to see. Let's take a look, and it's a triple gold lobby, just with more Dark Ordered.
I mean, I'll take it over silver, gold for sure. So, you know, getting a look at the augments here. Nothing too crazy jumping out right now. Kuramex has an option for Portable Forge here or Cybernetic Bulk. Cybernetic Bulk can be really good with all that extra armor and MR. Ends up taking that, so if he can get to that 7 Demacia with that, should be in a pretty good spot. We get a look at some of these other augments, and yeah, nothing jumping out at like amazing. I'm curious what Hong Leon got from his augment. That's the one that gives a 5 cost. So if he can get a Gangplank, that might open up something like 7 Bilgewater. But otherwise, nothing too crazy.
The teaming up. Yeah, I will say that one of the underrated things that maybe White Jungler has is social distancing in a vertical Vanquisher, giving that higher base damage, but it's still not that impressive until you get everything online. And even then, it's solid. It's not as crazy as social distancing used to be. Another Zephyr on the corner carry! How does he keep getting away with it?
Yeah, Kuramex no longer on the win streak, and we can see from Hong Lian's side of things that is a Neela finally equipped with the RFC. We're seeing incredible work being done by the Zephyr thanks to this being Valor's Hollow.
So Zephyr, that's a new item to TFT, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't see it that often.
I like it. You think about adding it to the main game.
People are playing as if it is a new item more at this rate. I feel it was almost like people forgot that Zephyr exists.
Yeah, and so with that in the lobby, in this, people are going to have to really start adjusting their position, make those last-minute swaps, because getting your carry Zephyred for those 6 seconds is just, it can really ruin your day.
It's striking how powerful it is, because my understanding is now that you can't add it on after combat has started, so there's less of a surprise factor coming in, but still, it's getting the job done.
Yeah, and it's also giving your team that extra attack speed as well, so it's just got some nice utility to it now that it is a support item. Getting a look at this board here, 7 Demacia, 3 Slayer. We've got the Quinn 2, still a Mordekaiser 1. Otherwise, nothing too crazy here, but we're starting to get to the point where a few of our players are getting really low. Nem at 18 health. Kuramex has been losing, and so now again, we're looking at our 52-point players. Can any of them turn this into that first place they need?
And White Jungler has a Xayah too. Doesn't have 3 items yet, though. Can the Xayah be able to focus everything else, or is the Quinn going to one-tap everything along the Mord? And that's a loss that White Jungler can't afford. All 3 players of 52 are at 3-4-5, although there is that HP gap between Huey and Michael.
Oh boy. Mort, you mentioned before the economy was going to be an issue in this lobby. We see our players have been spending pretty aggressively at getting up until this point. You know, there's virtually no money left across the board for our players to make their boards significantly stronger.
Yeah, and definitely, with the economy this low, unfortunately what ends up happening is you're kind of at this level 7, you know, am I going to hit my 2-star 4 cost because the tempo's so high? And I think some of them really needed to take a little bit more risk with their health try to get to level 8, try to spike something. Maybe, you know, they weren't aware that they needed that first place. Maybe they're just playing for placements, but to get a first, you've got to do something big and bold here that might get you a 7th or 8th, but it's still the correct play in this tournament setting.
Taking a look, by the way, of the current setting here for Michael, he is still on level 6. He's rolling for Ashe 3. In fact, he found Shen 2. He found 4 copies of Shen. And he might have to send it here in order to hit everything. That's 8 8s.
Oh, come on.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
That's what I'm talking about, but it costs everything in the war chest.
There are the 2 Ionia emblems, though, so we know that the ceiling here for Michael is very, very high. It's just, he's a long way away from level 9.
I mean, the fact that he got the Shen 2 this early at level 6, I think that is going to be a bit of a saving grace. If he can find the set 3 very quickly, the Ashe 3 now should do some decent damage. This is right around the last point where you want to hit that Ashe 3 and still have a shot.
Yep, agreed. And this is kind of what we're talking about, having that Jarvan even kick kick to our back line, exactly how we planned it. And out. All according to the Keikaku. And that is potentially Cassante.
I don't think so.
Not doing
maybe
enough,
not.
unfortunately.
I mean, he did a lot of work. That blue buff in there, as well as all the tankiness,
Oh.
made him so incredibly hard to deal with, but the rest of the board evaporated just a tiny bit too quickly.
Mort, this Cassante unit is just so troll, man. Like, what is he doing half the time? I just feel like he doesn't even know himself.
Yeah, he definitely, like I said, needs a lot of things to go right here. And I think Nem has to be pretty disappointed with that for the fact that had that Mordekaiser 2 with that 6 Shurima, felt like he was in a pretty good position, but it just wasn't enough. Ending on an 8th place. Still, the fact that you make it here to Worlds has to feel good, but not how you want to go out.
Yeah, that was some NA Cassante in League of Legends World if I've ever seen one. Let's take a look at Huey's position here, trying to see if he can pull himself up with Challengers, but Challengers just caps lower, particularly because you're playing one carry. It's solo carry Kai'Sa. There's no other items on a damaged unit. He has to just make it do with this.
Yeah, this is what we're concerned about. Huey going for the ore, now going for something that caps out lower as well. The first place just may not be achievable. The healing ultra at least enough to keep her up for another cast, but the damage is just not there.
And I think that is the closing minutes here of Huey in his championship run. What a day 2 for him, as he had an incredible start to the day with the first 4 games, but only to peter out in the last 2.
Yeah, unfortunately for Huey, that board, you look at that board and it's just not going to get a lot stronger. Even if you hit the Fiora 2, you hit all the other pieces, the cap is just so low right now. This is not a board that you're excited to have. The Ornn artifact just wasn't what he was looking for. And so yeah, players like Mikhail right now, I think, of the 52 people, Mikhail and Wet Jungler. Wet Jungler, at least we can see, has that 50 gold, so could spike pretty hard. But they're the 2 we're going to really want to keep an eye on right now.
Yeah, Wet Jungler has certainly been able to do that across multiple games, keep that economy nice and afloat, while also keeping the HP up at the same time. But for Huey, this could well be the end of the line. He said, things are not looking good. Going to slam those last items in for what could easily be his last round of the competition.
Yeah, and if it is, hats off to OC once again. They made a deep run, and TFT is only getting more competitive and more harder as the global competition levels up.
Yeah, I mean, he's holding this Aatrox here, which, again, if you need to stay alive,
yeah,
you've got to be rolling for this Fiora, for this Jarvan.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're holding this Aatrox, and so this fight, at least one of the slightly weaker opponents, but it is still an Azir 2, a Silco 2 with very good items. This is going to be his best shot at winning a fight.
I think the morale is pretty low at this point, because I actually argue that Demaci's not even that important of an item compared to just playing the Aatrox. And that'll close it for Huey here. As OC loses one of their heroes, we'll have to see how Tamura does in the others. Honglian in 6th, which, by the way, Honglian going 6th, Foeman in 5th, Toma potentially spinning out. That means the Michael and Wet Jungler still have that chance to play for first place.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah, right now they're the ones that are looking really, really good here. But Honglian has started to put together a board. If he can find this Neela 2, he's got that Giant Slayer if he wants to make it. He's got some pretty good setups here. You know, hasn't hit it yet, though, unfortunately. Is level 8, so he's definitely one of the stronger players in the lobby. This is a pretty solid board, but some of the other players, like we've seen, the Ionia, just are getting capped out.
Still stuck on Nilo 1 this late in the game has to feel really bad, but you know what? It's okay. We made it to the final lobby. Get all the bad luck out of the way now while we can for Honglian.
Yeah, Honglian can see very unconcerned by how this lobby turns out. He's already got his place secured no matter how it goes. Wet Jungler, though, has got a lot more on the line. We are getting confirmed by admins. Again, as we said right back at the beginning, for our 52-point players, even getting a first may not be enough. But if they don't get a first, they are definitely not going through to tomorrow.
Yep, 100%. 60 even enters you into that conversation. We shall see. In the meantime, Wet Jungler looks pretty solid. Looks like he has that 2-star Vanquishers online, has 3 items on Shen, which is really important, and 3 solid items on Shen. I think Adaptive Helm and Crown Guard are very underrated. And then we also take a look at Foeman's board, just checking with him, playing Goldmancer, Long Distance Pal, Silco, and Azir. This is a very staple build, but is it good enough to actually contend with the top 4 with a front line like this? I'm not entirely sure.
No, it may be a last round for Foeman. We have got Hong An again on a single-digit HP. Michael, of course, an enormous amount at stake. You've noticed before, of course, we've got the Ashe up to full power. You can see exactly what she's capable of with a little bit of help from her friends, just ripping through everything. It would be relatively comfortable for Michael to move into a solid top 4 adjacent position.
Yeah, and Hong Lian squeezed out another placement. I mean, small things like that help Hong Lian get it piece by piece, inch by inch. Oh, there's a Bilgewater emblem for Hong Lian. Ah, is it even that good? There's a GP instead. I think you take the GP.
I think it's the GP here. And again, like the fact that now he's sitting on, 65 points, I believe. So Hong Lian just kind of coasting here. And now it's really up to KurimX to play spoiler. Because KurimX, Wet Jungler, and Mikhail. Wet Jungler and Mikhail are 252-point players. Can one of them get spoiled here, or will they be able to finish it off?
And that Jarvan gets Kurim closer. Ah, I see. Kurim's been rolling for not just his Mordekaiser, but also for the Quinn 3. He doesn't have to open sell yet. Open sell meaning taking that Kaiser 2, selling because you know you're going to replace her anyways with the Mordekaiser 2. Not to mention, he doesn't even have that good items for Mord. Archangel Staff, is that even good on Mord?
Not for the Demacia setup, I don't believe so.
Okay, we'll see. Hong Lian's been a sniper with this Zephyr, but he is leaning back. That body language tells you everything.
Not this time, though. The Zephyr will go right. It will miss the Ashe, and that means the damage is still there. We've got to see this Ashe board starting to build up some late-game power as well. The Heimerdinger is in the mix for a little bit more time being bought, but it looks like the Jarvan, even if he can't hit the Zephyr, can at least hit the Cataclysm.
Yeah, and honestly, the fact that he's even compete with this board with a Nila 1 is really impressive. This is a 7 Bilgewater, which is considered to be a weak trait. That's a Nila 1 that's considered to be very weak, and the end of Stage 5. Honestly, there's something about Bilgewater that I think China understands better than other regions.
Yeah, I've been saying it for a while that I think Bilgewater is underrated. KurimX, by the way, hitting the Quinn 3, so that's going to be a pretty big spike here. The fact that he was able to get a 5th there without, the Nyla 2, I think shows kind of what the power potential could be of that composition here. That being said, we know this has been a very aggressive lobby. Not everyone is nearly as capped as they could be. And so we've got our top 4 here, and again, 2 of them really eyeing that first place.
Only one of them gets to have the double emblem, but Wet Jungler will keep hold of the big bags of cash to keep him warm at light. Everybody else, we've got 9 gold total across the 3 other players.
Yeah, and is this strong enough for Michael to actually win? This is actually really important because that means that Wet Jungler's a player that's going to be in contention to win.
Oh, wow. Lost.
And this is going to be Kaisa blowing everything up.
Dice Strike. And the job is done. Michael is not dead. Icy Timer goes down to 4. Points are everything.
I just realized that Kurim actually has the 1-2 knockout punch because he has Kaisa and Quinn, who are fantastic isolated killers. And so that's really difficult to deal with. If they ever corner you to just a couple of units, that comp's going to blow you out.
Now, the thing to call out here, though, is I do see 6 Zayas and 52 gold here. So Wet Jungler does need a first place. What better way to do it than a 3-star Xayah with these items? That could be the way you win this lobby.
And he's probably waiting for Michael to die, and if Michael dies and gets eliminated, that gives Wet Jungler a chance. And what a comeback this would be if Wet Jungler can somehow, with his back against the wall, go 2-1 and potentially book his tickets.
I think the big thing here is he has to resist rolling right now, right? You hold this gold, like you said, till Mikhail loses, give you as much chance as possible. And if KurimX is paying attention, he needs to spend every gold he can. Like, there you go. We've got Xayah being held right now, but yeah, it's these 2 Zayas. But if Kurim can grab any of those Zayas as well, it feels like Xayah 3 is the out here.
Yeah, 100%. And
Michael
going up against Toma to potentially stake himself in 3rd place.
All right, we'll see. We've got the Mordekaiser there, of course, with the Quicksilver, which means it's incredibly hard to deal with. going up against the Shen, who's going to absorb a lot of his damage. Of course, the Ashe in the bottom left-hand corner is crucially important, as well as the rest of the board starts to evaporate. Mordekaiser is still up and fighting. This isn't going to be even a little bit close as the Mordekaiser comes in. Michael takes the loss, and he will leave in 4th place.
KeRamX lost, despite, you know, having the Quinn 3, so Wet Jungler goes 9, decides not to roll for the Xayah 3, knowing that he's already ahead, is going to put in something else to spike him up here, has the 6 Vanquisher, 6 Ionia now. He just got a lot stronger, and so Wet Jungler might have been able to pull it off here and get the first he needed.
Yeah, people really underestimate this setup with healing orbs and social distancing. It's just a lot of combat strength, and it didn't seem like anyone was able to scale up fast enough. Chrome took too long to hit. Toma just got online and stabilized at 4 HP, so everything worked in his benefit. I mean, Honglian was still stuck on Nila 1.
We'll see if Icy Toma can survive beyond this round. We've still got the Kaiser, of course, on the back line, providing a good amount of punch, and of course the Quinn up to full capacity as well. The Jarvan jumping into the corner will stall things out for a little bit longer. The Kaiser proves impossible to catch, hiding in the corner, stacking up with the Archangels, and getting that final shot in. Icy Toma is gone.
It's a good adaptation from Kurum. A lot of people tunnel on that Mordekaiser variant, but recognizing that Kaiser Fiora still a powerful duo if you just play 2 Challenger. And now comes the final boss. Can Kurum potentially spoil? It's a classic NA versus EMA showdown. Kurum could play the gatekeeper, which honestly the pride of NA versus the pride of EMA is on the line right now.
Yeah, unfortunately for KeRamX right now, you look at these 2 boards, and I feel like the Xayah board has the favorite here. You've got that Shroud, like you said, all that extra combat power, but here we go into the final fight. Let's see if the Ionia board can do it.
This is the very end of the group stage. If Wet Jungler loses, we go another way round. If KeRamX loses, it could be by an absolute mountainslide. 6 Ionia, 6 Invoker. Wet Jungler looking to prove himself on the world stage. He's going up here. The board is evaporating. KeRamX is getting swept away. The hit is huge, and KeRamX is out. Wet Jungler still has a chance of making day 3.
What a clutch, honestly.